You're welcome to our live show this evening. We want to give you an update on what is happening in the Middle East. The conflict between Israel and Iran have continued. As at the time we are speaking, we understand that there have been or there is an ongoing Iranian response to what Israel did the last night and this night. You will recall that Israel has been Israel, the Israeli Air Force, the IDF went into uh, Iran, attacked again for the third day running. Several places, several strikes were made against the Iranian government forces as well as some economic assets of Iran. The Israeli prime minister had said that he was going to go after the Iranians because the Iranians had attacked civilian areas in Israel. As a matter of fact, one of the Israeli top commanders did say that as blood flowed in Israel, blood was going to flow in Iraq, Iran, and that appears to have been what happened. Let's take a look back at what has been happening in the last one in the last few days in the Middle East, especially the war between the two countries. Take a moment. Uh, another. Let me bring up another. Now, besides uh, the fact of the matter is that so far, as expected with conflicts such as the ones that we have ongoing, a lot of new developments take place regularly. The latest of the development is the threat by the Israeli government to also go after the Israeli government to also go after the Iranian supreme leader because the Iranians appear to have threatened uh, the Israeli prime minister. Though we don't have the facts concerning that, it is obvious that the Israelis want to prove that they can reach anybody, as they have said, anywhere. And so Reuters is reporting that the Israeli had decided to approach President Trump or discuss with President Trump the fact that they had the ability to take out the Iranian supreme leader. And it is reported, as you can see on the screen, that the uh, President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, had vetoed such a decision. Let's take a look at some of the exchanges that have taken place today. Uh, as at today, the Iranians, of course, responded to what the Israelis did yesterday and also what they did early this morning. The Iranians sent several missiles into the territory of Israel. They targeted cities like Tel Aviv, Bat Yam, Rehovot, Haifa, Jerusalem, Israeli airport, and also energy infrastructure. Some of the missiles that were sent, of course, overwhelmed the Iron Dome and other countermeasures that the Israeli government had been planning and had put in place. And so some of the missiles that were shot landed. And of course, there were a lot of casualty. Yesterday, there were between 10 to 13 dead people, including women and children. Some people say that between 200 to 260 people were injured. And this Sunday, so far, additional 3 to 6 fatalities have been reported. And of course, over of several buildings in Tel Aviv, in Ramat Gan, and some places have been destroyed, and several civilians displaced. The Israeli Prime Minister, in a statement, said they sent a missile through my bedroom window. Tehran view us as enemy number one. Of course, that may have been why the Israeli government also sought to take out the Iranian supreme leader. If you go around, there have been a lot of things that have happened as a result of that. Of course, several airports have been closed for the third day running, and over 40,000 tourists have been stranded. There have been global travel alerts, and there is fear of civilian unrest happening. Now, that was what the Iranians did, following what the Israeli Defense Forces did. And last night and early this morning, the operation which the Israelis called Rising Lion struck Tehran's defense headquarters. They struck the nuclear archive at Natanz, Isfahan, and oil and gas depots, as well as missiles, stroke energy infrastructure, and also took out some military leaders. Altogether, the Iranians appear to have lost over 460 people, with 654 people injured, and this includes civilians, military, scientists, weekend, and the weekend strike, of course, took out 78 people, including women and children, across Tehran and provinces. The Israeli stated goal has been that they will halt Iran's nuclear and missile production program, and not regime change. But it is unlikely whether if the opportunity to do a regime change uh, comes up, the Israelis would not take that up. Of course, the energy sector of Iran has been badly hurt. Nuclear infrastructure have been damaged. It is yet to be known or confirmed whether they have actually been destroyed. The United Nations watchdog has confirmed that there are no radiation leaks. And of course, the Iranians have halted the nuclear talks with the United States. Oil markets are worried. Travel ban across the region is rising. And what are international leaders saying about what is happening in Israel? Uh, of course, like I told you earlier, the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, vetoed the Israeli plan to assassinate Iran's supreme leader and affirmed United States non-involvement in Israeli strikes, but warned of military retaliation if US is attacked. He called for peace and also asked the Iranians to come back to the negotiation table. According to him, Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left. This is not to say that the Israeli government, I mean, that the United States government is not helping the Israelis. As a matter of fact, the technologies that are being used, a lot of them are United States technologies, and as well United States assets in the region, as well as some Arab countries such as the UAE, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia are reportedly helping to intercept and destroy the UAVs and the uh, missiles that are sent from Iran and its associates around the region. The Turkish President warned that Israel is dragging the region into fire and urged negotiations. He offered to mediate. It's unlikely whether the Israeli government would take him seriously. In the United States, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, advised United Kingdom's nationals not to travel to Israel. Uh, uh, he's pushing he's using the G7 to push for a de-escalation and diplomacy. It is unlikely that the government in Israel will pay attention to anything that is coming from the United Kingdom, because the government in the United Kingdom has been in the forefront of countries in Europe in fighting against whatever the Israeli government is doing, especially the war in Gaza and the war against Hezbollah. As a matter of fact, just last week, the government in the United Kingdom uh, decided to place sanctions on some government officials of Israel. The Australian Prime Minister Penny Wong urged restraint. He praised Israel's self-defense right, emphasized diplomatic solution, and closed embassies. He advised citizens to, to shelter. EU leaders in France, Germany, and the EU called for immediate negotiations, expressed deep concern over escalation and nuclear radiation risk. As of course, as well as with the government in the United Kingdom, the United States, the Israeli government is unlikely to listen to anything coming from the governments of France in particular. And now, the Russian government, of course, as expected, condemned Israeli strikes and expressed concern and discussed mediation with President Trump. But as well as you know, President Putin is refusing to sit down to discuss peace with the government in Ukraine, and is escalating the war in Ukraine. It's unlikely whether Israel will listen to him. And in any case, in the last few minutes, there have been reports that the uh, government in Moscow is asking its citizens in Iran to evacuate. What are the implications of the things that have happened so far? Of course, these repeated strikes, uh, sooner than later, if not addressed, may create certain problems that are not expected. Unintended consequences always follow this type of strikes, and the fact that Israeli government in the last few hours also asked Iranians around nuclear and military sites to evacuate does not mean that the casualties, civilian casualties in Iran will not increase in the following hours. So far, there have been no diplomatic discussions between the two countries, and no one is really sure about what is going to happen We'll come back in the next few hours to give you an update about what is happening in the Middle East. You are welcome to India.